Now on the Business Radio X network, Conscious Capitalism, elevating humanity through business in Southern Arizona. Your hosts, Sarah McCraren and Jeremy Neese.
Southern Arizona does good business, and we want to talk about it. Welcome to the Conscious Capitalism radio show and podcast, streaming live and on demand from the Tucson Business Radio X studio. Conscious Capitalism is an international movement promoting business as a force for good. The Conscious Capitalism movement has 40, 50 chapters across the United States, some international chapters as well, and lots of activity down here in the southern part of Arizona with a chapter in Arizona as well. We are bringing people together to make it easier for Southern Arizona businesses to do business and to partner with other organizations who know successful companies value all of their stakeholders, including the communities in which they operate.
That's right. On this show, we want to shine a light on real-world examples of good business happening right in our own backyards. We invite leaders in our community to share their stories and experiences, to tell us about their personal journey through the world of business, to let us know what makes their organization great and how they go about bringing value to Southern Arizona. If you would like to learn more about conscious capitalism and the community of people forming around it, please visit consciouscapitalism.org to learn more, or reach out to Sarah and I. We will help you out. So let's get into some good business conversations and introduce you to the people who will be participating in today's conversations. For myself, I'm Jeremy Neese. My enterprise is Retirement Evolutions. We work in providing long-range wealth management solutions, help people invest in what they value.
And I'm Sarah McCraren with McCraren Compliance. We offer safety training and consulting services, specializing in MSHA, OSHA, and DOT. And our purpose is to create communities where we all watch out for each other. Our guests today, first we have Jeff Keywell. Jeff is a Tucson native that graduated from the University of Arizona, where he received his degree in business administration while becoming a 3-year letterman of the Arizona football team. Jeff was an all Pac-10 performer. See, I wanted to say Pac-12, but you know, to be true, I guess it was a Pac-10 performer that has gone on to earn his Master's of Business Administration from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business. Did I say it right? Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Along the way, Jeff held leadership positions at some of the biggest brands in the gold industry. In 2015, Jeff joined Goodman's Interior Structures to be a... What?
Typo.
Oh.
Golf.
Golf?
One letter
The
makes
golf.
such a big difference
golf.
in the industry.
You know... And we'll get into
Some
that.
of those brands are the gold standard in golf.
Gold
There you
standard.
go.
Yeah, I was like gold. I was really curious and interested to hear about, you know, who the top names were in the gold industry. But golf, or maybe we'll just make something up and go with gold. See
whatever sounds more intriguing.
See what we can come up with. So in any case, Jeff joined Goodman's in 2015, and he joined to become part of their mission, where at Goodman's, they want to change our community. So Goodman's is officially a benefit corporation, which is focused on community, environment, and employees, as well as their shareholders. So Goodman's is active with Local First and, of course, supporting their own Good Threads, which we'll hear a lot more about in the next hour. And redistribute, who are Good Threads, again, we'll hear more about them, but the short is that they're redistributing clothing to foster and the kinship community of Southern Arizona. So Jeff, as a big supporter of local community outreach, is a graduate of the Greater Tucson Leadership Class of 2018, so that's recent. Woo, woo, you know.
Nicely done.
Congrats there. And an active member of the Chamber of Commerce, Metropolitan Pima Alliance, and other local associations that aim to make Tucson a better place to live and raise a family. So thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Good to be here.
So we also have with us Michelle Wright. As a foster and adoptive parent, Michelle has a deep personal understanding of the challenges foster, adoptive, and kinship families face in Arizona. I was, for a short time, a kinship family myself. Yeah.
So you already know what it is.
Yeah, I do. So she had an idea and brought it to her employer, Goodman's Interior Structures, a local 64-year-old third-generation family family-owned business. So, we'll hear a lot more about Goodman's as well and their connection with Good Threads. But Goodman supported her personal mission with an investment of company resources such as warehouse space, delivery trucks, donation bins, marketing support, and by encouraging employees to volunteer and participate in helping Michelle serve her mission. So together with Goodman's Tucson team, Good Threads has donated clothing and has actually clothed over 15,000 kids and has enjoyed watching them benefit from the warmth, dignity, pride, and sense of community that come with nice clothing, sometimes my tongue gets tied, nice clothing and accessories provided by Good Threads, and the experience of attending a Good Threads exchange event. So thank you so much, Michelle, for being here. We really appreciate it. And
thank you for having me.
Very excited to hear more.
All right.
Sarah, I think there's spas in Slovakia you can go to help get your tongue
untied. Yeah.
So we certainly want to hear about your organizations because this is Conscious Capitalism, and how do we go about sharing how you've structured things within your entities to serve community and serve your clients and your employees and all that good stuff. But we certainly want to get to know you both as people first. Jeff, you want to start us off? Give us your story and how life brought you to be at Goodman's.
Well,
your only limit is 1 hour.
Except for the gold versus golf. I think that's my story. I'm a local kid here. I went to Sabino High School when that was a new high school in town. Went to the U of A, graduated there. My family... My dad owned a building supply company here ran a building supply company here for 35 years. So I was involved in the construction industry, but we've really seen the Tucson community grow up. I left Tucson in '85, as young men do. I had a chance to play professional football for a while, so I did that. Then I got into the work community after that, but found my way back to Tucson in 2003 to raise my own family. So we've got 2 girls, Mackenzie and Samantha. One is graduating in May from the University of Arizona, and one is graduating in December for the University of Arizona. So I'm almost through the financially encumbering phase
the hardest part of
parenting. But when we came here, an interesting fact about our family is that when I left, when I got started in business, I was moving every 2 to 3 years just for opportunity. And I met Denise, my wife, and she was part of that. And we moved from Phoenix, we moved back to Augusta, and her family is all back east. And so when we had the opportunity to move back to Tucson, she said, I'll do it. But the condition is that we don't move again. She was an Army brat. She moved her whole life, went to 3 high schools.
Jeez.
My mom and dad live in the house I grew up in to this day. So I had a much
pretty
more
stark contrast
stable, there. And she wanted, our girls to have friends that, they went to school with all the way through high school. And they do. Both of my girls have friends that they started in kindergarten with. So that's what she wanted, and so that was our agreement, and so we, in fact, have been here ever since. But Tucson is a place I love, and it's a great place to raise a family. And I'm interested in the community aspect because I want this to a place that my kids and my grandkids can raise their family and have an equally great place to live.
Well said. Thanks for sharing that. Michelle, would you give us your backdrop, if you will, please?
Oh, my story. Well, let's see. I didn't play any sports, but...
All right, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Well, so I grew up in a suburb of Portland, Oregon, and we moved down to Phoenix when I was 13, I think. Went to junior high and high school up there, and then I came down to the U of A to be a science major, biology major. And I had never even been to Tucson until the first day of school. So I was like, all right, well, hopefully I like it down here. I did. I really liked Tucson. I thought it was a pretty cool melting pot of people from all over the place. And I enjoyed meeting people from a lot of people from the Midwest. I think they were avoiding the snow.
For sure.
So yeah, I was working some grad programs. My dad had started a job in Phoenix at Goodman's, and I just needed a part-time job. So while I was still in school, I started part-time with Goodman's and then ended up working for them for 24 years. But about 11 years ago or so, had a coworker that was a foster parent, and she'd kind of, you should do this. I'm like, yeah, I will. And she's like, well, get going then. Stop just talking about it. So it was Terry DeBay, by the way, Jeff. Yeah. So, and she had adopted her own daughter from Casa de los Niños. So I did it. I did the classes and drank the Kool-Aid. And I have since fostered and adopted 7 or 8 kids. I adopted 3. And the way this program got started, and all the while I'm still working at Goodman's, in 2009, the economy and everything, was just really taking a dive, including most state services. And they really got slashed pretty horrifically during that time. And that was kind of on my mind anyway. But I got my daughter that same year, and I got her because I had adopted her brother. And so I got that phone call, hey, can you come get? I'm like, get who? Well, this 2-day little girl. So that's kind of how I thought, well, how the heck does anybody, like everybody else gets 9 months to prepare for this, and I got an hour and a half. And they're like, we close at 5. I'm like, okay, come get her. And my kids are like fighting in the back. My boys are like super little. And my boys were both 1 when I got them. So there's a super big difference, by the way, between like that 48-hour thing and the 1, which I figured out pretty quickly. But she didn't come with anything. And I'm not saying this is like some package I should get, but like nothing. And I didn't have a crib. I didn't have anything for an infant. So I was very lucky. I had neighbors that had just had babies. In fact, my next door neighbor's TPD cop, and she had 3 boys. And so my daughter wore this like, I'm going to be a police officer, a policeman when I grow up for like 2 weeks. So that was kind of the catalyst. Those just happened at the same time, in 2009. And
you were already fostering then, true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had already adopted my 2 boys. But it just, the slashing of all of the services and then this experience with my daughter just really got me thinking, I can't believe there's not a place in Pima County that could help kids like this. And it just became a real passion for me, more than just providing like something for kids to fit and wear to school, but there's a sense of dignity that is lost when a kid has a really horrific removal. And they become these old souls, and their childhood is sort of stripped for them. And I want if anything I can do, whether it's with clothes or whatever, is just to have them have that sense of I matter enough. So that's kind of how it started.
Well, and I think that, with some of the kids, not the newborn babies, but, some of the older kids, there's a sense of stability and attachment that comes with their stuff. And sometimes you're going into foster and everything is unknown, and they can put their attention on, well, how am I going to go to school without a backpack when they had to leave their backpack behind? And that can become, a focal point for all of the anxiety that comes with the unknown. And so you can really simply solve that and give them a little bit of their lost security with something like, a backpack, or how am I going to go to school without shoes?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, I had a really great childhood growing up, and I had a stay-at-home mom. I was lucky. But it's such an unfair burden to put on kids. Being removed is bad enough than not even knowing if I'm going to have things to wear, appropriate things to wear. And, there's still a huge need out there. I know they talk about numbers being down, but I had just checked them before we started. In the state of Arizona, there's over 13,000 dependency cases right now, or kids in care. Pima County, around 1,300 of those are here, but there isn't even half that in terms of the number of licensed foster homes in Arizona.
Really?
So the biggest problem isn't just the number of kids in care, it's the ratio of foster parents to kids in care. There's just not enough. And it's a severe crisis right now. And unfortunately, we spend a lot of time focusing on just the numbers of the kids in care, and that should be looked at. But the bigger crisis is happening right now in terms of licensing, especially in Pima County. We've been having the foster care orientation classes at Goodman's. So that's kind of the, I'm thinking I might want to do it kind of thing, be a foster parent. And sometimes they only have 2 people show up. And that's very concerning to me when I look at a number like 1,300, like, what is it that we're doing wrong? So that's a whole nother, epidemic that's kind of going on, but it's something that we also need to look at. Because, I mean, for me as a foster parent, I got great services from the state. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of the news focuses on the really horrific things that happen. But I personally had excellent OTs for my son and PTs, and they'd come to my house, and I had a good experience. I mean, there's bad ones, but.
Right. There was, not to make too much light of it, but there was a comedian who was kind of shining a light on the fact, because I think a lot of what's going on here is people just don't have an awareness. Right. Those numbers you just dropped about the disproportionate number of people in need versus those that are qualified to help, or at least licensed to help. The joke was like, you can't go anywhere on a weekend without seeing a pet adoption somewhere. Right. They're on every PetSmarts and wherever you go, but yet we have human beings who have needs, and that's closeted, and we don't talk about that, and we don't make it a public issue and say, hey, these are living creatures that need help. But the dogs and cats, we'll parade them around plenty. Just don't worry about the people.
And obviously there's a privacy and a safety issue there. Sure. But there's still just such an abundance of kids that, I mean, actually next month is a Foster Awareness Month, so May. I brought you guys some ribbons if you want them. All right. But the Blue Ribbon event is coming up on May 5th. On Cinco de Mayo. It's at the Nissan on 22nd Street. So that's a cool place to go too. So I'll be there as one of the supporting agencies of DCS in Tucson and Pima County, but there'll be all the other agencies that are there that can license people, and there'll be other groups that if you don't want to be like a foster parent per se, you could join other groups to help in different ways. So that's just a good thing to keep in mind, just to see what is out there that might fit your comfort level if you do want to get involved and help. Because that's what, I mean, I know a lot of people want to donate money, which is totally awesome, by the way. But sometimes it's getting your hands dirty and actually getting in there. And like for me with Good Threads, it's sorting all the clothes and doing all that stuff in my garage. But the best part is the event. So I'm like, sometimes people donate stuff. I'm like, but come to the thing. Like, I want you to it's totally different when you see that look in a kid's eye that you've, for that just a split second, made them feel like normal and not like stressed for a moment. And that's worth coming out to see, because it takes you to a different level of compassion, I think.
So you mentioned, getting your hands dirty, and about how just the personal reward that we can get as individuals by really participating. And I think that helps us kind of translate that into, well, that's really what Goodman's did. So we've talked a bit about, Good Threads, and we've heard, some things about fostering in general. But to kind of give everybody a full picture of what is really going on here, Jeff, if you could just first give us a little bit more about Goodman's. We got just a little bit in your introduction, but tell us more about who Goodman's is, and then let's make sure everybody understands how Goodman's is really getting their hands dirty with Good Threads.
Okay, so Goodman's is a contract commercial furniture dealer. So that means we design and install commercial office space of healthcare, commercial office, government, anything you can think of that's commercial, we're involved with. That's kind of what we do. And the thing that's different that Goodman's is a B Corp that you mentioned in your intro, but the reason that this makes a difference, and I think this is a great way to talk about this at this point, with Michelle giving such a great overview of Good Threads and why she does it, is that I want to be clear about this. The reason there's a Good Threads is because of Michelle Wright. Goodman's didn't create Good Threads. Michelle Wright created Good Threads. What Goodman's did, because of our philosophy, because that really what our mission is, not to sell furniture. Our mission is at Goodman's, we will change our community. And so with that as a mission, when Michelle said, hey, I have an idea.
I forgot about that part. Yeah, that was a little messy.
Adam, so the owner of the company, Adam could say, and if Adam were here, he will tell you this was his complete involvement in the idea was, he said, okay. But if we existed to sell furniture to make as much money as we can, we would be asking questions like, well, what are the costs of the trucks going to be? And how do we, like who's going to pay for the labor to, because when it first started, we, Michelle is sorting and folding and selecting these clothes for the boutique, but the boutique on the second Saturday of every month got packed in a truck, hauled to a location, unpacked, the boutique happened.
9 years.
Then it got all packed up again and moved back to the warehouse and unpacked and stored away. So we would ask all those questions about who's going to pay for this, essentially, because we have an obligation to our shareholders. But instead, Adam said, wait a second, we're going to change our community. And what that means is that surplus talent, assets, resources, capabilities, if we can apply them in a positive way in the community, we're going to ask how and when and not how much it costs. And so what happened is that Goodman's became a co-conspirator with Michelle's great idea, or an enabler that said, hey, look, we have all these things. How can we best use them? Michelle, tell us, how can we help you so that you can bring this up and bring this idea and serve our community? And at the end of the day, every second Saturday of the month, the community is a little better off than it was before the second Saturday of the month. And that's how Goodman's involvement came to be in Good Threads. It wasn't like I get this question a lot. That's why I'm making a statement. I get this question a lot. There's well, it's so great of Goodman's to do this. Well, so it's our DNA for Adam to say, okay,
right,
because it's part of our purpose. It's Michelle's efforts and vision and commitment that really made this happen. We just said, yeah, I can drive the truck there.
See, I'm really glad that you point that out, not just because it's, the credit should go, where it was earned, but just the fact that, it's what conscious capitalism is. It's what we're saying. So you have a company that has a purpose, has a mission, and then they have the culture that truly lives that mission. So you can have an employee with a really good idea that, number one, will come up and ask, because, in a lot of places you would never even ask. And then number two, is received with, yeah. And then given the, empowered, given the authority to go and the trust to go make it happen. And, that's, really, that's what we're saying. It's like everyone's got good people. We just had to figure out how to create the right environment so that they are willing to take risks and to put themselves out there and to themselves individually live that mission, that purpose of changing the community. So Michelle, so 9 years you're trucking stuff around, but give us more about how it started. So, you got the yes, you're looking around at all the different resources and extra things that are around and then what?
Yeah. Well, I still remember it. I was jotting it down on a piece of paper. I'm like, glass of wine, not gonna lie. And I'm like, it was frustrating, And I just remember thinking when all of this was happening, I just gotten my daughter, we're getting emails every other day, which the yearly allotment back then was $300 a year per kid. And they cut it to $150, which has never come back. It's still $150.
As we sit here right now, it's $150 per child.
For the year.
And that's
good luck with that one.
Clothing them. You said backpacks,
shoes,
school supplies.
That was the clothing allotment at that time, and there were a whole bunch of other services that got cut too. That were specific things, and I don't know if any of those have come back. But for me, it was more about I never liked when I would see people on street corners protesting against things and stuff. For me, if I'm going to be upset about something, I think I should try to do something
Channel
to
your
fix
energy.
it instead of just tell everybody I think it's ridiculous, because it is. I don't have to say that's ridiculous. We all know that's ridiculous.
Doesn't help make anything better.
Right. So I was like, well, how can I even do something like that? Like in my garage, at first it seems like, oh, this is really simple. We'll just collect some clothes and we'll just sort them and it's good. So it's not that simple. And every store labels their clothes like super weirdly and differently. Like a 2T at Target is not a 2T at Kohl's. Like, so then you start to learn those things. And so the first couple of months I was trying to figure it out, had my first giveaway and nobody showed up. And I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. And that's when I quickly learned that you have to get to the agencies that license the families to tell them about it. So it was kind of a tricky little thing, is that the audience that I wanted to serve, I couldn't know who they were. So that was a bit of a challenge. So I had some of those things to kind of overcome and kind of put the pressure on groups I knew weren't, I'd have people sign in, well, how'd you find out? And so I'd kind of pressure the ones like, no one of your families ever come, why? So... And then over time, it got better and better and easier. And now most of my families are referred by the DCS workers, which that's really great, because that means they were told that right when the child was removed.
Yeah, right at the source. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to hear that.
At the time that they need to know.
Yes, right at the beginning. So I'm actually able to do like emergency pulls now, because I used to just, when I was working Goodman's, do it once a month. And now, like you don't even know, on Sunday morning we had a teen group home come to Goodman's, and I brought them breakfast for these teen girls, and they got to take their time, and we listened to music, and I had food, and I totally made them feel like as special as I could. So it was like, I have goosebumps talking about it. And one of my friends brought her dog, who's super sweet, and the girls were they had such a good time, and it was great. But one of the things I noticed when I was sitting there doing it is kind of feel like I'm talking to like old souls, because they kind of become old souls quick. So it's nice to be able, when we talk about getting our hands dirty, just sitting and chatting and asking them about their future and what they want to do. I mean, sometimes it's just that,
right?
And having a place to do that. That's what's so great about having that space, is we can make the space in Goodman's whatever we want. And, we weren't really using the showroom anymore. It's like everybody looks at stuff online. You don't need like a giant showroom. So we never even turned on the lights over on that side, because we see it's a huge building. So it's pretty cool that we could build our space out of the products we sold. So it's kind of a fun little cross story with the walls and all the furniture and stuff that, that's kind of a connection. But
because after 9 years of hauling it around using trucks, you decided to, take that unused space at Goodman's, and now you have a permanent home. Yeah, which I'm sure makes it, it's a lot more efficient operation.
Yeah, I think a lot more businesses could do that. I mean, obviously, most businesses, they still need at least one meeting room or conference room or something, but it's like a blip on the screen. You don't use it super often. People are remote workers, but you still need space. But what if when the space is dormant, it could continue to serve the community? Like, I really want to have more things like that in my space. I've been meeting more of like kind of the third-party support groups like me that are just kind of starting up. Like, there's a gal, and she does a therapy. She was a foster mom for special needs, so she started a support group, but she doesn't have a place to have it. So I was like, dude, you should have it here at Goodman's. And tonight the foster parent orientation is at Goodman's.
Nice.
It's a neutral space. We have really comfy furniture. So the building is giving back. And it's really cool.
And Jeff, those are spaces outside of the boutique, right? So we got the boutique full time in Goodman's, but then you're also utilizing the space for other community services as well, like the
meet and greets. Yeah.
Sure. We like to have meetings in this space. We are an ongoing business, so hopefully someone that's in business might see the cool furniture we have in the showroom. But more than that, it's like Michelle said, it's really like no one's using that. No one's using our education side of our upstairs tonight. Like there's no conflict. Right. There's no reason why we couldn't have a group that. And while it's disappointing when that group is small, there's been times where that group is large and we needed the space. And so it's great to be able to support that. Again, this is all surplus resources.
Yeah.
This is not, didn't cost us anything as a company to do something good for the community.
If I could print a T-shirt, that would be it for business leaders to have that mindset at all time. Like, what is surplus here? And people like Michelle who have an energy towards something and can channel that purpose through the business and peripherally probably benefit the business. To your point, it doesn't hurt for people to be strolling around your showroom, even though that's not the intent for them to gather there. So it addresses the business side of things, but just that mindset to be able to be open-minded to any opportunity with the surplus items that are here, because we're already here anyway. We're turning on the lights. We got people huddling up anyway. What else can we do beyond our core mission?
Well, I think every business should not just, like you said, not just make a profit, but if you are here in our city doing business, don't just do business. You should also do other things too. I mean, I think it should be all of our duties, like how we pay taxes. But you have to, like, there has to be a way to give back. And like for me, my kids come to every Good Threads because I want to instill in them that this doesn't just stop right here. Like, this has to keep going. I mean, if everybody would just get actively involved in something, we probably wouldn't have most of the social problems we have today.
Yeah, exactly. That is,
Right.
and that's the biggest part of why Jeremy and I are really promoting conscious capitalism. Why Good Threads is involved with conscious capitalism is because we really believe that we can solve these things through business because we have these resources. We have the say the trucks and the people and the brains that are solve problems all day long. Well, there's a whole bunch of problems to solve that that can impact our community. Some of them are directly through the business that we do, and yet some of them maybe are indirectly through the business that that we do. And it's like you were saying that you got to get your hands dirty. You've got to get involved. You can sit around and complain about a problem. You can hold up a sign on a corner. You could even put a particular political sign in your yard, but how does that solve the problem versus actually doing something? And as people in the community who have resources, as companies, organizations who have resources, you could sit back and complain, or you could do something, and you can make those changes. And that's why we have you here to help let people know. And it wasn't just the words that Jeff said. It was really the tone in his voice. He was just like, duh. He's like, it's simple. That's what I heard. He's like, we've got them. It's simple. It's why would they sit gathering dust at night or whatever? When we have them, it's simple. So, Michelle, one more question. Well, not one more, but one at the moment. So, for how long did you work at Good Threads? I mean, work for Goodman's and Good Threads, where you were doing both?
Almost a little over 9 years. Yeah, a little over 9 years. Yeah, I was doing both.
So, kind of when you sort of like it evolved in two different ways. One, you get your permanent space, and also they get a permanent director.
Yeah. So that happened last summer. So yeah, that's been a lot less stressful.
Yeah.
Just do one.
To do one.
And then there's those 3 kids that I adopted too. They take up a little bit of time.
That's true. So
yeah.
what was it that allowed you to make that switch?
I think it was time. It's truly my passion, and I've been able to utilize it. One of the things I was doing at Goodman's, I was kind of the higher ed specialist. So I had been working with the university on a lot of like maker spaces and cool immersive spaces. So I had been really kind of researching and studying, creating those kinds of spaces for quite a while. And I was able to kind of translate that knowledge into the space that I'm trying to create for our foster care community, using a more immersive environment that can be utilized. I was seeing the university do more public-private partnerships, which is what you were just describing and how effective they are. So I feel like I have this kind of unique vantage point that I learned from my, the private, working to make money kind of thing. But I was a foster parent. And so just kind of seeing how that could potentially work. I saw it work on projects I worked on with the university. But to think, well, how could that work if I changed hats and then I went to the government public part of it, but tried to, eventually use the connections and folks I'd met during all my years at Goodman's that, I know they don't know about all the need. And I know that the people on the foster care side don't know those people that care are out there. I know all the architects in town and stuff like that. So, it's been kind of crazy kind of figure out how to do that transition of that hat to this hat. But it's been really cool and very rewarding. And I've been able to spend a lot more time with my kids, so that's good. Sometimes. Depends on the morning.
That's true in any household.
Yeah.
Jeff, I was going to ask you, so what do you see in the office day to day, and how having good threads on site, or even just knowing, that your company supports it, how do you see that in your employees or in the workplace day to day? The impact that it has on everybody besides Michelle?
It's a good question. It comes back to a question that I personally get from those I talk to about the conscious capitalism concepts. And I can tell you that I think we're all proud to be a part of, there's a sense of pride and there's a sense of doing good that comes having the boutique in the facility. But I don't know that I can quantify what are the benefits of having Good Threads right next door to us? We all like it. It makes us feel good. I mean, that's kind of in a nutshell. I think that listening to Michelle talk about her passion here, the thing I want to point out is that what made Goodman's involvement possible was the way we see the world. It wasn't because, and I don't want to speak for you, Michelle, but it wasn't because someone did a great business plan on what a great thing this will be and how in the next 10 years it's going to drive X. No one did that. It was more simple. It was how we see the world. We're going to change our community. And if we have surplus stuff that we can apply to the greater good, our answer is not, well, we'll look at it. Our answer is, yeah, what's the next step? We're in. That's what we want to do. And there's more. Good Threads is such a great Tucson model, but there's other things at Goodman's that happened in a very similar way that we do. We have the Aim to Make a Difference project, which repurposes trade-in furniture specifically to the nonprofit community. There's no cost except for, if we have to send, we have to send a crew out there all day to install it for you. We need to recover those direct costs. But there's no charge for the furniture. It's just a different way to do it. And it's how you view the world that allows us to see that opportunity. It's not some, real understanding of the business benefit to changing our community. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I think it makes perfect sense because what else is there to say except for that we've created a work environment where it feels good to be here. Wouldn't we all like to be working at a place where you walk through the door and it feels good? I mean, and again, it doesn't mean that it's vacation, and it doesn't mean that you got a cabana boy fanning you or something like that. It's still work, but you can feel good, walking through the door. And even, I don't want to say even better, but also being a part of creating that environment where people walk through the door and they're happy, to be there. Again, not, vacation happy and, everything isn't, rainbows all the time, but they're like, it's worth their time and effort to be there. And it's beyond just an obligation. So, and that's the other, the benefit. It's not just, having the resources and creating this community and contributing to the community. It's also about the community inside the walls of the business and, where people are being lifted up instead of being dragged down. And then what do they take home with them at the end of the day, every single day? So, those are items. So yes, makes perfect sense.
Well, and for me, the most powerful part of it is, you see slogans on the wall all the time. I mean, it's great that you've got your purpose statement of that Goodman's will change communities, but that in and of itself is just letters on the wall. The fact that you have this daily personification of here's how we do that. Here's one example that is pervasive on your employees' minds, on any customer or prospect that walks through the door, any business group. You're always a kind host to us. We see that. Sometimes when I'm thumbing through news feeds, I'll see some. I'm always intrigued by, oh, hey, look, somebody's at least talking the talk of infusing goodness and social impact into their business operations, and then I'll see the logo of the company who put it up there. I'm like, yeah, but I know a little bit about you, so that's cool that your CSR department released this statement, but that's not a full embodiment of what you are. Yeah. And so I think that's very powerful that you have it right there. You cannot ever take your eyes off it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you earlier, Jeff, we heard, Michelle, you have been there so long, you just kind of stuck around and it served you. I assume that this purpose-driven dynamic came along during your tenure there, right? It wasn't a slogan on the wall at the time you started the business, right?
No.
Was it when you did, Jeff? Was that one of the things that attracted you? I mean, you have a background in gold and golf. I mean, you could have went anywhere.
That's diverse.
And you ended up at Goodman's. What were some of the drivers that allowed you to choose them over others?
So I was looking for, when Adam called me to talk about this, the first two times we talked, I started the discussion by saying, I don't have any experience in furniture. And so we got by that obstacle that took 2 phone calls to get by. And we started talking, and it took quite a while. But really, what I was looking for is I had spent 28 years getting on an airplane and really doing business outside of this town that I grew up in. And so my personal motivation for being interested or joining Goodman's and being a part of that culture is that I was interested in changing the community, making it a community my kids wanted to be a part of, and being a part of the business community in a way, an active participant that you just can't be if you're not here during the business week. You just can't do it. You just can't be here unless you can go to the mixers at night. And I'm fortunate enough to be on the board of a group now, and and so I'm involved in a way that I was never able to be involved in a way. And what kept me from not ending the conversation at I don't have any experience in furniture at all was that I was enamored with this company that felt like furniture was a way they were going to change their community.
That's great.
Well, and Adam on the other side of the phone was like, yeah, you don't know anything about furniture. That's not the point. Let's keep talking.
That's why I like you.
Yeah.
That's right. I get it. But
it's bigger than furniture. It's community.
But we are a business. So we are in the commercial contract furniture business. So we have to make that work. If we couldn't make the business work, we couldn't support Good Threads. We couldn't support AIM to Make a Difference. We couldn't be active in the community in other ways that we're active. We couldn't support the volunteerism of our employees the way we do. We couldn't do those things. So, having a viable, sustainable business is an important part. It's a necessary ingredient.
Well, and so is interior structures. I mean, you build the outside, we got to fill the inside too. I mean, so it's a value. It's not. So yes, the community is an important part, and that's our mission. That's your mission. I'm like, I'm part of it already. Changing the community. But you bring a valuable service to the community with the business that you do as well. I mean, you provide quality products, you provide quality consult, you work in partnership, you're transparent. I mean, so it's, in my opinion, it's equally as important, not just to, have the profits to fuel the machine, but that Goodman's itself is bringing an important service to the community, and a place that a company can trust, that they can go to and they can trust. So yeah, I mean, it's just as important.
So your response makes me want to clarify something. So we don't, like, I don't mean to imply that we do commercial contract furniture so that we can then do something else that helps the community. We believe that through our professional design solutions and professional furniture solutions, that we can create healthcare environments that help healing, that we can create commercial office environments that foster innovation and create better outcomes for businesses through a more effective workforce and a more, what's the word I'm looking for? A positive attitude, if you will, in the workplace, a happier place to work. Like we believe that government can work better if the workplace environment is better. So we believe that we're changing the community for the better through our everyday work, blocking and tackling. This is what we have.
Right.
But the point on the conscious capitalist side of it is that we also believe as conscious capitalisms that in the long run, in the long view, that's a more profitable way to go, but that it is capitalism. It's conscious, but it's capitalism. And so it's okay to make money. It's okay to be profitable. It's not, it's not the only good that's done in the world is through nonprofits. And I want to go on record now, I hate the term nonprofit. I would rather have, let's call them for purpose companies instead of nonprofit, because they are all generating value.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely hope my Sarah McCarran's vision for the future is that they blend more and more, and that the lines, at some point, to disappear. But it's evident in some of the stuff that even Michelle was saying about how Goodman is changing their community through their direct business services and creating those comfortable environments. I mean, she talks about, creating the boutique first every, once a month, but now in the permanent space. And how do you create the environment where it feels comfortable and that people, they feel good when they walk through it? And that was a big focus for Michelle in developing, the transient and then the permanent site. And so where did she get that from? Well, it's
space,
pretty clear.
Well, space is a message. I mean, that is something that we have been learning, in the higher education environments that we were creating. I mean, not to just attract or retain students, but faculty and things like that. So, I mean, for me, space is a message. I mean, think about any space. Something as simple as you walk into a room, it's some kind of a networking event, but it's rows of tables. Are you going to talk to a lot of people and they're all facing forward versus maybe no tables or sitting in a circle? I mean, there's subtle little things that we can do to make the space not only make people feel comfortable, but encourage the creative side of them. It's those unanticipated collisions when magical things happen, right? And you put people together that might not necessarily commingle out there in the real world. But what happens if you put them in a space that's not stigmatized with stereotypes and it's safe to say whatever you want? That's what I've enjoyed as I've been mixing these random groups of people together in our space and seeing what happens. And it's usually good stuff. I haven't seen any fist fights or anything. But it's cool. It's cool to be able to experiment and use things differently. So
we think about that in the context of my business. Wealth management is a broad umbrella, and if you expand wealth to be more than money, much like conscious capitalism is, profit's essential. I can't help you manage your wealth if you don't have money, but there's, especially in the business climate, the physical wealth, the emotional wealth that you get by having an environment that's conducive to come to every day. The human body was not designed to sit in a chair and peck at a keyboard for 8 hours a day. That's not how we evolved.
Right.
So to have solutions that speak to that is powerful.
Well, and we were also made to interact with each other.
Correct.
I mean, that's what I would say to anyone. I was scared when I started doing this. I didn't know what I was doing. I still probably don't. And that's why I'm trying to learn everything I can about the bad word, nonprofit world and how it works. But I would say to anybody that has a great idea, stop researching it. Go do it. Elvis said it, like a little less conversation, a little more action. Like you're going to fall down. Like that's how that works. I've told my kids, don't not latch the gate because you're going to slam your finger. But the only time they'll remember not to do it is when they slam their finger. I can say it till I'm blue in the face. I would just say to stop being afraid and try something. Try a program or try it with a friend. Just try to make change some way.
Yeah, I think that's an important point as well, because we talked about Goodman's and the environment and within the context of going out and doing something to help the community, just ask how can we use the resources, but it's bigger than that as well, because if you're free to be creative, be inventive, and fail when it's not for the making money or furthering the business, then it's likely that you're also given some creativity and able to take risk within the business as well. And in my opinion, I think that that's very important when you think about longevity and success and evolution and growth for a company, is that again you create those environments where people aren't afraid to be their best, and the only way we find our best is through taking risks and failing. So I think it's another just example of what Goodman's has been able to create. So both of you are running organizations here in Southern Arizona, and Jeff, you made some comments about long-term success and long-term profitability. So you both want to be around for a while, right? Not just you as individuals, but you want to be, have these organizations that are going to be around for a while. So any thoughts on, Michelle, the future of Good Threads and how do you continue to keep it? How do you sustain, and then also how do you continue to keep it relevant and evolve with the needs of the community that you're supporting?
That's exactly, I've been focusing on that lately. I just read this book called Palaces for the People, and that's just it, like creating social infrastructure and creating a program that's sustainable. It's really challenging, especially for me, because my population I serve is invisible. So the way I stay relevant is to connect myself with not only the population I'm serving, so I'm a volunteer on the Foster Care Review Board and things like that, but connecting with other agencies that are involved too. So I know that I'm providing the right service. And, like I said, I bring my kids. I make sure I want to grow the program. I don't want it to die with me. So these last few months, I've really spent time connecting with the other agencies because I feel like you can go fast alone or you can go far together. And we now have the FACT meetings at Goodman's, which is the Foster Adoptive Council of Tucson. So we've been bringing more groups of people together that are starting to realize how they can help each other. And to me, that's how you keep it sustainable, is to make sure that whatever service I'm providing is relevant, not just something I think they need.
So you stay in partnership. The best way to continue to know what the needs are is to stay in partnership and looking for ways and how we can work together to serve a certain group of people. And Jeff's, it's really the same thing. What I know about you and just the things that we've heard on this show, you clearly want to leave Goodman's a better place than it was when you found it. And so what does that look like for you? What are keys to, for your own organization and sustainability and ongoing growth and success?
So I think there's the difference between the business and me are distinct. But for the business, what we really are trying to do now is create, we've always had a culture of good performance, but what we're trying now is to emphasize continuous improvement, because the environment is changing, and it's changed. The business environment is changing, and it's changing quickly.
What are some examples of that, please?
Well, so some of them are kind of interesting to me. So when did Action Office start? 30 years ago, 35 years.
Yeah, mid 1960s.
So that was the start.
First panel system.
Yeah, that was the start.
okay.
And it really wasn't
Gilbert.
open offices because it was really tall panels, but that was the first start of the modular office furniture. And what's been popular for the last 10 years or so is this open office concept. But that comes with its own set of problems and they're workforce problems. Like for example, we're in a nice room right here. And if you're in this room by yourself working and it gets loud outside, what do?
Close the door.
Close the door. Mm-hmm. What do you do in an open office if it's too loud and you're trying to focus? Or when you need to focus, but everybody keeps bugging you because they don't realize that you need to focus. So the rules of engagement have changed. The social etiquette, the office etiquette has changed, and we do training on that because of it. So that's something that if you think about how business has worked for decades, to see how it's changed in 10 years, it's changing pretty rapidly, right? And so now the other thing is that with the generations in the workforce, you know, the 25-year-old college grad, even with a professional degree, a PE or a law degree or anyone that's coming out of school, they're working completely different than the senior partner is in the firm that's 55 or 65. And so how do you accommodate that? And what is the difference where you have one age group that the private office is part of the trappings of accomplishment, and another group that has no interest in that. I don't even care where I work day to day because everything that I have and I need is in my laptop and on my smartphone. Mm-hmm. So I have pictures of my family that I set up and they scroll while I work. But I don't today. I'm going to work in the coffee bar. Tomorrow I'm going to work at the touchdown station, and the day after that I may work in the little conference room. And I have I don't own it. It doesn't own me. I don't care about it. And I don't care about really work hours that much. I work when I work and I play when I play, and it's not 8 to 5. I may start at 7. I may take a break in the middle. I may work till 9. All those lines are being blurred, and it affects how you deliver a compelling, professional, constructive, supportive, emboldening workplace. And so it's moving fast, and we're trying to keep up with that. Personally, I want to see my kids talk less about leaving Tucson and more about wanting to stay here because this is where they want to raise their families and this is what they want to do. And that means we got to figure out a way to fix the roads. And that means we got to figure out a way to continue to promote good business in Tucson, not business that's going to sacrifice our environmental future or anything like that, but business that will support our lifestyle here and can take us to a community that can provide for its least fortunate, and a community that can provide for the masses and have good community places, good park system, great quality of life. That's what I want to say. In some small way, I was a part of that mission to bring to Tucson or to continue to improve Tucson in that way.
Hopefully that's a vision everybody can get behind. That's great. Well said.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I know.
Like, is there anyone out there who says, no, that sucks?
Right. What are you talking about?
Yeah, see, there's that
want a
same
bad
thing again.
Tucson.
He's like, why wouldn't you? You know, why wouldn't we?
don't
It's so
need to
simple.
read your
He's like, it's so
sign.
simple. Yeah.
got it.
I don't need to read
agree.
your sign. Yeah.
What is it? What?
When you were talking about keeping up with the fast evolving business place, is there intentional mechanisms that you've put in play for the business so that you have quarterly sort of, here's the direction, or are you getting input from manufacturers, or is it simply you've got the right people like Michelle who will raise their hand when they see an opportunity? You mentioned that you're training on almost cultural dynamics. How do we interact? It's great. We put the furniture in the room, but now how do the humans assemble around that furniture and get the most out of it? How does that come to be?
Well, some of that we have control over, and some of it we don't. How well you utilize a well-designed space is a little bit out of our control.
But
right?
the fact that you had the innovative instincts to say, well, there's a service we can package around that. Then
so there's a couple of things in the market today that one, you have to be, and Michelle, weigh in. You know as much about or more about this market, but you have to be open-minded for what's coming up. Like you can't rely, well, this is what we did last time, so this is what we need to do that.
Yeah, well,
time.
that used to work, but
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore
No.
because it's changing fast. The other thing that's happened that you have to have an open mind is that there are many qualified people out there that have different visions for what's next. And so in our business, we work with architectural firms and design firms, and our lead manufacturer, Herman Miller, does a ton of research in workplace stuff that really sets an industry standard. The whole industry uses the results of this research.
that makes sense.
But you have to be, like how we deal with that locally is you have to be open-minded enough to consider that, hey, this really cool thing that I just did
Might need to be
may
refit.
not be the right thing for this. And things are changing, and they are changing that quick, where, we thought that, like one of the things that have bounced back and forth, everyone wants to go digital. Well, our experience is that that's a really big C-suite initiative, right? But in the trenches where the work's done, people want to file some stuff.
Yeah.
They want to keep a few copies. They may want to have a password book. And more importantly, I want a place to put my stuff that I can lock up.
So you don't have, yeah.
Right? So this idea that, oh no, we're not going to have any storage. This is going to be a modern workplace. We're not going to have any storage. It just doesn't work because people want, where do I put my motorcycle helmet?
yeah,
Yep,
it's human-centered design. I mean,
Yeah. It's interesting, so everything is changing, and even like you said, the millennials who will work anywhere, they still want to have some sense of home, or to at least know how some of their basic needs are going to be accommodated. So, just kind of the thing that I took from that is just open-minded, and things are changing, be ready to go with it. So, unfortunately, we've used up our time, and that hour went really fast, like it always does. So I just want to, thank Jeff and Michelle for being here and telling us more about your great organizations, and complementing the message of conscious capitalism. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.